A very warm good evening to all of you. Welcome to the 106th session of CENTA's webinar series for teachers. Today, we will learn about entrepreneurship and how teachers could inculcate an entrepreneurial spirit in their students. As you might already know, we are doing this session in collaboration with ThinkStartup, and we have Mr. Sanjeeva Shivesh, who is one of the co-founders of ThinkStartup with us this evening. Welcome, Sanjeeva. Fantastic to have you with us this evening. Uh,
Good evening.
I'll quickly take a minute and introduce today's facilitator. Sanjeeva Shivesh is a serial entrepreneur and an angel investor. He is, as I mentioned, the co-founder and program director at ThinkStartup. In his previous avatar, Sanjeeva served as a civil servant with the Government of India. Subsequently, he worked as strategic consultant with Booz& Company at the London office and as the executive director of investments at a private equity firm. His passion lies in teaching entrepreneurship, innovation, and design thinking. He has been adjunct professor at MDI Gurgaon, FMS and Terry University, besides teaching at Singapore Management University, IIM Rohtak, IIM Kashipur, and IIT Delhi. He is an active panelist on economic affairs and policies on CNN News, India Today TV, Doordarshan, and All India Radio. Sanjeeva is a BTech from IIT Delhi and an MBA from the Cranfield School of Management, UK. Once again, thank you so much for agreeing to facilitate this session for us this evening. And just a couple of quick housekeeping announcements before I hand it over to you. One is those of you who have been attending our webinar series regularly would know the drill. At around 5:45, which is 45 minutes from now, we will be sharing a link to a feedback form. It's super critical for you to fill in the feedback form because it will help us understand how the webinar went. And in case you're looking for a record of participation to come to you tomorrow, that's super critical. So please fill in the feedback form. Secondly, we will be sharing a few slides and Sanjeeva will be sharing the screen. In case you have any issues with seeing what's on the screen, reading what's written on the screen, there are a couple of things that you could do. A, you could go full screen. That should help. B, you should try improving the quality of your video from your YouTube video player settings. So it will be auto by default. You will have to increase it to either 720p or 1080p, and that should help you to see clearly what's written on the screen. So please keep these two things in mind. And yeah, that's pretty much it from my side, Sanjeeva. Over to you.
Right. So, good evening, all. And Karthik, thanks a ton for the lovely introduction about me. It's such a pleasure to be at the platform of CENTA and to be discussing about entrepreneurship in schools with all the teachers who are here. And I consider it as an honor, really, because the subject is we are very passionate about teaching entrepreneurship in schools. And we really want that in our education system in some form, all our educators, if they can bring, I think that will prepare us for the new world. And when I say the new world, it is a 21st century world, which is very different from the world when we were getting educated, right? So post internet, the world has changed, and the form of teaching also in my humble opinion, there are few course corrections which are required, and that's the context in which I am here. And thanks to CENTA that you agreed for this session. Now, most important, in today's session, there are 4 or 5 things that we want to I want to touch upon, and the first thing is around discovering practical ways to encourage spirit of creativity and innovation in classrooms. So, you know, uh, how do we make classrooms more engaging? How do we ensure that the creativity which is there in an individual child, how can we foster it, how we can preserve that, how we can encourage it, and how we can allow it to blossom? So that's the context. The second is about how to incorporate entrepreneurship themes into any subject. And as you know, I come from a perspective that entrepreneurship is a horizontal subject. When I say horizontal, which means that it can be incorporated, it cuts across all subjects, and the concepts of entrepreneurship can be really dovetailed into any subject. So that's the second part. The third is how do we develop entrepreneurial mindset, and eventually then it leads to building a culture of innovation in schools, and uh, hopefully we reach a stage where we are preparing students to be future ready. So as I start on my subject, I have one question for which I'm looking at everyone to participate. Can you put this on Mentimeter, Karthik?
Sure. I'll
So,
just
Mary,
put it on Mentimeter. Yeah.
yeah. So thank you, Kamaljeet. I'm looking at the responses. Thank Yasmin. Right, I'm getting some answers. Shikha is saying both. Fantastic. B. Most people are saying B. Yeah, and we have this poll on the Mentimeter, so you can go to the Mentimeter and put in your responses. Right, it would be great if you can go to Mentimeter and put in your responses. uh, uh, Fantastic, thank you all for actively participating in this. I can see most of us here, we are all teachers. The answer, when I get the answer B, we know that we are all teachers. But across in the real world, when I take this question, and especially to all the entrepreneurs and founders, they really believe that it is A rather than B, right? Whereas everyone who comes from developmental psychology mindset, right, they all come with the answer B, right? We at Think Startup, we are a firm believer that the answer here is B, and that is why. Just allow me a second. I think. Can you see my screen, all of you?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
right. So so the answer is B, and something that I wanted to develop. I If the answer is B, then the question that I have, and I have the second question to all of you, and Karthik, again, you can put it on Mentimeter before I reveal the question, right? If the answer is B, the question to all of us is how do we teach entrepreneurship, right? If the answer is B, then how do we teach entrepreneurship? What is there to be taught, right? I go to people and they say that entrepreneurship is like swimming, right? You put the fish into the water, and the fish is able to swim, right? It is as natural stuff as that. Whereas you can't teach actually swimming unless you do all those sort of stuff, and those vague answers are there. But is a poll set, Karthik, the second question?
It is. It is. Yeah. And we've started getting responses.
Great. So I have a second question, friend, to everyone, and the question is, what does teaching entrepreneurship in schools mean? A, build EM. When I say EM, it means entrepreneurial mindset, and B is build entrepreneur. Right. So I'm looking at some responses. What does teaching entrepreneurship in schools mean? Right. Build EM, which is entrepreneurial mindset, or build entrepreneurs.
So right now, 65% of the respondents are saying it's A, just building entrepreneurial mindset.
Right. And you know what? In 2013, when we started this whole thing around teaching entrepreneurship, we chose the second path, which is to build entrepreneurs. Right. We said that the value of teaching entrepreneurship is in building enterprises. Right. And we kept on realizing that while we were helping people learn and build enterprises, we were actually helping them in far bigger manner in developing their entrepreneurial mindset. And when I say entrepreneurial mindset, what was happening was, while the enterprise would fail, enterprises are born to fail, right? While the enterprise will fail, the mindset which was there, it stuck. And that mindset, all budding entrepreneurs, nascent entrepreneurs, they took that mindset to build future enterprises. So again, thank you very much for the option A, which is very again to music to me. Now I come to the third question, and again, Karthik, I'll need your help for the third one,
Sure.
right?
It's set up.
It's set. Okay,
Yeah.
friends. So the third question is again set on your screen, so you can actually look at the third question. What is entrepreneurial mindset? Right, being a dreamer, or building someone to be a dreamer, or building someone to be a doer, A or B? Right, because dreams are something which are pivotal, that those gives the ideas, right? And doers are people who are able to implement things, who are able to execute things, right? And that's the whole challenge about entrepreneurial mindset, right? And if I extrapolate this dreamer doer dimension, if you can look at my screen, and the two fingers, right, the x axis and y axis, one axis could be a dreamer and other axis is a doer. Perhaps the answer is somewhere, a person who's able to dream bravely and to implement, like and someone who has a razor sharp implementation, right? So invariably it's about 80 percentile on the dreamer axis and 80 percentile on the doer axis, and then you have a very small axis which brings us to a niche of entrepreneurial mindset. So building on this, right? And I like some of the answers which I'm seeing on the chat box. Both. So Simi writes both. Manisha again writes both. A lot of people are writing both, right? So we all have to build the dreamer mindset and the doer mindset. But when I say dreamer mindset, there are everyone dreams, right? Someone who is not an entrepreneur, he or she also dreams. Someone who is not an entrepreneur, he or she is also a very good doer. So, what separates entrepreneur? That's the fundamental question that I want to pose for you. So what separates entrepreneur? Because I could be a great dreamer, right? And I could be a great doer, but entrepreneurs could be, I've seen entrepreneurs who are average dreamers, great doers. I have seen entrepreneurs who are big dreamers and big failures, right? So they all started with big dreams and they were never able to execute the dreams. So there are lots of variety of examples which are there in the real world, but there are some entrepreneurs who are at the cutting edge, right? So if you're aware of the story of fresh desk, right? Or if you are aware of the story of Zomato or of Paytm or of Flipkarts, right? These are all dreamer doers, right? Both the things, but in some manner everyone was dreaming really big, right? So they dreamt really big. They started small, but they dreamt really big, and in slow steps they were able to keep on executing things. So if we all agree that we have to build dreamers and doers in the classroom, then what's the message for us? We as teachers, what do we need to do to build a generation of dreamers, doers? Because this is a generation which can take any country forward. Now, really, when we start looking at this domain of dreamers, doers, invariably the question that I am posed with in every class is, sir, entrepreneurship is risky, right? Entrepreneurship is risky, and I need money to start to a business. I have a bright idea, but I don't know how to get it done, and those sort of questions, right? But every time, the most common answer that we are able to get is entrepreneurship is risky. So I also want to ask from you, and in the chat box, if you can, anyone write, what does risk mean from the perspective of entrepreneurship? Because I have also seen a lot of people who are non-entrepreneurs take risk. So what does risk mean in the context of a startup? I'm trying to look at some of the answers, right? So I'm getting some great answers, right? Learning by doing is best. EM is doer. All that is fine. But what is risk? So Jalpa is saying risk with caution, right? It's taking about fear of loss or failure, right? Fear of losing money, fear of failure, right? So chances of failure. So now I'm getting the answer, right? So everyone is saying risk in the context of entrepreneurship means failure. What do we mean by failure? if you can, again, just to go deeper into that question, what do we mean by failure? Because unless we understand the word failure in the construct of entrepreneurship, we are not going to make a headway. So what does failure mean in the construct of entrepreneurship? Not bothering about results, risk, is ready to take challenges, no fear of failure. What is failure in the context of entrepreneurship? Anyone? Right? Dreamers becomes doers. I'm getting great answers there, right? But the real hard thing when it comes to risk is something which we call LKK. LKK. You can note down the word LKK, and LKK in Hindi is log kya kahenge, right? So every time you say that I'm going to start this, and if you come to a big failure, everyone is bothered about log kya kahenge. It's a sort of a reputational risk, right? There are issues surrounding money and financial failures and all those sort of stuff, and different people will find different sort of adjectives to defining the risk, right? And 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 we ought to understand this concept of risk much better, and we also want to take this concept of risk into classroom. And everything about risk, friends, is about failures and those sort of stuff. And the real challenge for we as educator is how to develop risk taking, right? Unless we sort of nail this, unless we get to the bottom of this concept of risk, and unless we sort of unearth the hidden secrets of risk, developing risk taking in classroom is going to be challenging. So my Sojanya, I actually like what you're writing. Not attaining your goals, feeling or worrying about the results or talk of others. Thanks, Manorma. Uh, right, courage to face the obstacles. Right, how do we develop risk taking in classrooms? Right, and since time immemorial, from the image that you can see on my screen, I'm sure you can see the image on my screen. This image, Karthik, right? So I hope the latest image is, yeah, this image. What does this remind you? Who does this remind you of? Which is the historical character it reminds you? Of course, this chap is in coat and tie and all that, right? But it takes us to the story of Kalidas, right? The guy who was sitting on the branch and is trying to cut the same branch. And we as kids, we all laughed at those stories, right? So it is rather interesting for we as educators is how through simple stories, the kind of deep mindsets that we sort of ingrain in every child, right? And the deep mindset in the story of Kalidas that we ingrained was, or Sheikh Chili, right? So that we ingrained was that you should not cut, right, the branch on which you are sitting. And why shouldn't you cut? We never actually dealt with that, right? So we all know that if Kalidas was sitting on the branch and was cutting that branch, which means he had a great fall and a big fall, no one ever tried to tell us that, look, this tree was actually very small, and because Kalidas fell from that small tree, nothing happened, right? But the metaphor of cutting the same branch, and that metaphor which goes into the mindset, is all about you should not take this risk, right? But if you start thinking in terms of that branch could be as high as 300 feet or as low as 2 feet, and if it is as low as 2 feet, the risk that Kalidas was taking was really nothing. If it was 3 feet, again, it was nothing. It was 6, perhaps it was nothing. If it was 10, then it was some bit of a risk. If it was 300, I'm sure Kalidas would not have even tried cutting the branch. But we don't get into those stories, right? And we really get stuck to one part of the story. So my question is, how do we develop risk taking in classroom? And that is something that till the time we sort of develop that, we take this into classroom, all the things so far we have been teaching, right, is all about success, right? We are telling every child that if you fail, then society is going to laugh at you, right? And then it's rather difficult for the child to develop a failure, tackling with failure mindset, right? All the stories that we teach in classroom is all about don't fail, don't do this, don't touch this, right? I'm sure some of you would be science teachers, and some of you would be having laboratories in school, right? And just imagine the expression on the face of the child if the beaker drops, right? Everyone, including a teacher and everyone, would look at that child, right? Not only look at that child, also next day, something would be sent along with the letter to the home that, okay, this guy, he dropped the beaker, and here's the penalty of 10 rupees or maybe 100 rupees, whatever is that value, right? So that is, these are the experiences which teaches and guides the mindset, and it leads to the formation of deep beliefs in the minds of child. Now, if these are the things, and unless we realize how we are sort of making people uh, apprehensive about risk, we cannot promote risk taking. And those are the realization that I really want all the teachers to really think, because you are spending more time in classroom with younger students, right? They are in the formative years, right? I work with students who come to me when when their life view has all been formed, right? And then we struggle with these children to 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 manage their risk taking ability, right? So I have a question, and I really want you all to look at this screen. If you look at this screen, I'm sure you can see this. What do you see? You can use the chat box and tell me, what do you see? What is the first object that you notice on the screen? I'm looking at the object that you are noticing on the screen. There are 4 or 5 things out there, but what is the first object that you notice on the screen? I'm looking at I'm looking at okay. So Kamasa is saying matches. Someone is saying torch. Someone is saying doll, matchbox, matchstick. Child is thinking torch, out of the box. Okay, fantastic, right? So thanks very much for participating, right? A lot of people, they are actually the a lot of people, their mind goes to this thing, right? A lot of people, their mind goes to this thing, right? There are other stuff out there in the picture, right? What is this? Anyone? The second circle, the circle where I have put 2, what is that? It's a toy, but what is there? In that toy, the circle, what is that circle? Child is playing with a matchbox, that is fine, but the second circle on the left hand side, which I have drawn, what is this? A fan, right? And just imagine when you leave a matchbox and a fan and a torch with a kid, and then you ask yourself, uh, what do you see? Right? And a lot of people, especially, if you are in the motherhood stage, or if you are very caring, and you really want to care about people, you put a inordinate attention, right, on a very high attention on the left hand side on the matchbox, and the mind starts going up, and then you start making stories, and then you go to the right hand side, which then from out of matchbox you are able to see fire and flame and all that. And then uh, uh, we say, don't do this, stop this, why are you doing this? And those are the dialogues which happen, and those are dialogues which are very intuitive to human being, right? And I'm only trying to bring these dialogues in front of you because I've been encountering these dialogues with multiple parents, right? They come to me for to help the child become more innovative, but the entire thing, the entire life story of the child is all around few words, right? And those few words are stop, don't do this, etc. But we have seen kids who, when we bring them these matchstick and then the matchbox and the blade and the torch, because torch has batteries inside, they are able to combine stuff. And then in the classroom they are saying that, okay sir, here's it, listen, you gave me the matchbox, you gave me the blade, I'm going to now combine this and make a drone out of it, right? But if in the very first instance, teachers, if we had shouted back and said, stop, it will catch fire, the drone would never be made. We are discussing how to make our classrooms more innovative, right? And through simple stuff, through simple examples in real life, in case after case, I'm able to see that students are far more innovative, they have far more ideas, and you know the expression that they are seeking in classroom is very different from the expression with which we have grown up. And it's time that we as teachers, we adopt uh, 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 a new mindset to allow people to explore, to experiment, to make things, to break things, and only after you make things and break things, then you can create new things. So Mark Zuckerberg famously says, break things, only then you can make things, right? Break things, only then you can make things. And that is the concept behind it. I'm sure you are aware of these tinkering labs, Atal tinkering labs, which are there, right? But those tinkering labs, if we have these 3D printers, my plea to all of you is to allow kids to start playing with those 3D printers, because when they start playing with those 3D printers, new and unique things can happen. So coming back to this whole story of how to allow experimentation, how to allow make things, break things attitude inside the classroom, how to make the classroom where innovation can be practiced, right? Innovation is a thing which is applied science. It is application oriented. It's not theoretical stuff, right? And it's all about making the hands dirty, right? Uh, so what we are aware is is the scripts that we play in our life, right? The scripts are: walk carefully, watch your step, look, there is a pit, there's a danger, don't do this, stop, right? All those things. And we really want to be fail proof, because failure is not warranted in life. Failure means loss of respect. Failure means that you are nobody. No one will look at you, right? And that's the real challenge. And that messaging is something which is going on and on, which is stopping us from being an experimental person. And that stops India from being Silicon Valley. That stops developing world from being a bed for innovation, right? And we really have to move from fail proof to fail safe, right? And a fail safe environment is something where it is okay to fail, right? You try something for the first time, it will break, right? You make something and it is going to break, right? There are labs in your there are laboratories in your school, and in those laboratories, chances are very high that when you do the first reading, it could be absurd. But what happens, because we are tuned to say that this slide caliper is tuned at 9.745 or 9.75, 9.77, then everyone tries to calibrate things around 10 and then tinkers around 10. But let the damn student try with that slide caliper and forget him. Ask him not to use slide caliper. Tell him that you can use to measure the size of the nose, right? And let them play with those instruments. Let them play with the prisms and lenses and potassium permanganates and all the kind of stuff which is there in the lab, right? Allow an environment where it is safe to fail. What happens? What the risk, right? Some of your chemicals will go waste. It will go down the drain. But the value of those chemicals is far less than the lifelong learning that we might instill in our students. And that's the kind of mindset that I really urge all of us to be building. Now, I come to an important point. and a question that I get asked always, that how can you teach entrepreneurship in things like history? How can you teach entrepreneurship in things like political science or psychology or physics or maths? And I think it can be taught on any subject, right? And just to quickly share the super story of finding of America by Columbus, which is a fantastic story of entrepreneurship. But till date, most teachers would have actually not taught that story from the perspective of entrepreneurship. All that we know from all the history teachers, right, or all the other teachers, or economics teachers, is that Columbus was in search of India. He went west, and out of pure luck, out of pure serendipity, he discovered America, right? But no one actually goes deep and says that, to undertake a journey on the ship, it was an expensive task, right? In today's terms, it would have required about $100 million of investment if you really wanted to do a similar expedition, right? 3 ships. And Columbus was an ordinary man. He didn't had that money. And that trip was financed by the King and Queen of Spain, right? We all know that King and Queen of Spain financed that trip, right? So somewhere we know that. But how much did they finance? What were their stake? What was the benefit for Columbus if he found the route to America? We don't teach all this, right? And in fact, there's a complete business model which was there for Columbus to find America. So I can go on and on and build stories on other subjects, but the point that I'm trying to make is entrepreneurship lessons can be embedded into any subject provided we want to, right? And if I leave these small teasers in your head, I'm sure you are much smarter than me. You know your subjects much better than me, and you should be able to embed the stories of entrepreneurship and start building entrepreneurial mindset in all the subjects, right? Whether it's any of the inventions and discoveries, whether the story of Thomas Alva Edison, or it's the story of Columbus, or Vasco da Gama, or Sherpa Tenzing and Edmund Hillary, and all these stories we actually grew up with, and we don't really talk about entrepreneurship, right? So I uh, I will ask my friend Karthik to use the Mentimeter again. It's an open-ended question. Karthik, could you set the question up again on Mentimeter?
Sure, I'll do that. It is set up,
Fantastic.
and
So, friends,
yeah.
on the Mentimeter, you will have this question. It's an open-ended question. I'm looking at words, right? So, how can we make classroom a place where failure is encouraged? I go mute for about a minute. I'm trying to only look at all the answers that you're going to put, and I'm reading those answers. But really, uh, very excited to look at the answers. So the question is, how can we make classrooms a place where failure is encouraged? So Sakshi Kohli is saying by encouraging students to ask questions, fantastic. Like it, Sakshi. Anyone else? Okay, Tejal, failure is the next step to success. What can we do in classroom where failure can be encouraged, right? You know, uh, you can drop the beaker again, right? I can go back. I can go back to the example of which I showed you of the matchbox and the drone, right? Supportive teaching. I doing freehand innovation. Karthik, I would love to see all these answers and keep it with me, because these are so valuable answers that I just can't tell you. These are awesome, great stuff. Failures are
Sure.
pillars to success, right? So, teachers, these are all motivational stuff that you are saying, and I'm sure motivation is required. But in terms of the real stuff, what could we do inside classroom where we can encourage failures? I'm going to talk about thing which which is coming from my life experience. Fantastic. Gina, I really like the answer, making them reach the right answer even when they have started doing the wrong answer, right? Step by step, right? So look at what we have done. If you look at the board exams today, we are all touching something that we call marks inflation. We are all at 100%, 99.6, 99.5%, right? And and that is because we have a method in classroom which is uh, which I called a fixed answer questions. A fixed answer question is something which is very closed ended. There's only going to be one right answer, and because there's only one right answer, so you have to get the right answer. But life, as you all know, does not have one right answer. And it's very surprising that when life does not have one right answer, why and how we have made our education system where we are obsessed with one right answer, right? So teachers, my real learning is to engage with students in a manner that we have more open-ended questions like the one that I have put on the screen. It's an open-ended question, everything is blank, and all the answer that you're putting is a great learning for me, right? And out of those open-ended questions, perhaps we will discover a great answer, right? And today we are sort of through variety of pressures from the regulator, board, education system, etc., we have stopped thinking open-ended. And because we have stopped thinking open-ended, we have started to live in a society where we look more black and white, right? Either you are looking at politically right wing or left wing, and it's more divisive, answers that we are sort of we all believe that okay, this is the only right answer, whereas in the world of possibilities, everything is possible, right? And perhaps we need to find time, space in the whole din and clutter and scheduling of classroom to invite open-ended questions. And when you have open-ended question, then it's a discovery process. When I say discovery process, it means that through this dialogue process, through the open-ended question process, you discover answers. It could be on both ends of the spectrum, and both answers could be right. And that brings us more closer to life. It also says that it also, as some of you in your answer they are writing that you know initially we'll get wrong, right? So we have students who start building something in our place, and a typical example is that when they start making cars in our classroom, the cars don't move in the forward direction, it does not move in the backward direction, it can move sideways. Now you build those cars. Now if the car moves sideways, this chap, he wanted to build the car which can move in the forward direction, right? The guy himself or the girl herself, they know that okay, I need to do something to make this damn car move in the forward direction. It is learning by doing, it's learning by observing, it's learning by trial and error. It's what we call, it's learning by enlightened doing, right? So learning by enlightened doing, it's playing with your hands, playing with your fingers and doing things, and then realizing that okay, this thing is not working, it is broken, and I need to set it right, right? And that's the discovery process that we need to set up in classroom. I also learned, so my other learning is that in a classroom of let's say 30 people, 40 people, there could be a set of people who will be in self-learning mode, there could be a set of people who would be very frustrated. Why is the car moving left side? I'm giving it up, right? And this giving it up attitude is something that we really need to be tackling in the classroom, right? And these are all the stuff what we call in simple parlance is about resilience, right? So teachers, essentially our job as developmental college psychologists is to build resilience in human beings, because if you start building that resilience in human being in all the students, then we are making a society which is going to be far more resilient, which is far less judging, far more trying, far more innovative, and it's on the path of the virtual virtuous circuit of innovation. So that is the dream that I eschew. That is the dream that I want all of you to really look at. You all know this, right? It is the combination of left brain and right brain, right? So friends and teachers, this was a sort of a teaser that I created, that I really thought that we do in a 40-minute session. If you like, we can work again with CENTA to create a full-fledged program on teaching entrepreneurship, longish program. This is right where we can go more in detail about pedagogical approaches, methods of teaching, and all the sort of stuff that we can have. But my humble plea to all of you is to encourage all your students. Now, with the permission of the host, I want to come to the second part of my discussion. So, Karthik, I really wanted to talk about something, and I really want your every teacher's attention about something which is
Sure.
a very interesting thing which is going on. So what's going
Absolutely.
on? So teachers, I hope you can see my screen. And some schools would have received this communication. The wait is over. India at 75 youth ideathon is here, right? It's a youth ideathon, India at 75, where we are encouraging every children in classroom to to participate, and and these children to part and to submit their ideas. So details of Youth Ideathon is available at the website www.youthideathon.in. So if you look at the screen, there are a number of collaborators in this exercise. We have MEPSC, which is a sector skill council, a skilling body, which is there. We have CBSE, who is a partner, uh, who's working with us to in the Youth Ideathon. We have IIT Roorkee, who is participating. We have IIM Vishakhapatnam, who's collaborating with us. We have TIFAC, which is under Department of Science and Technology, which is participating in this. And Youth Ideathon, all the details are available at the website www.youthideathon.in. And we really want that all your students should be participating in the Youth Ideathon. The main theme of Youth Ideathon is Mera Idea Jo Badal De Bharat, the ideas which can change India. And we all want you to be an advocate of change in the Youth Ideathon. So there is a role for teacher, and I'm going to talk about that. So all the teachers, I really want to spend some time in terms of what's your role, how you can help. So all students in your school, right? And we are really expecting, I really solicit your help. All students in your school, they can go to the website www.youthideathon.in, and at that website there is a register now button where they can enter their basic details, and then they submit. Then they go to idea submission page, and they can submit up to 5 ideas. So any student can submit up to 5 ideas on the website www.youthideathon.in. I request to you to take a screenshot of this, so that you know how you can help. Now, what's there in the Youth Ideathon? So there are some exciting prizes. Of course, there are prizes which has a huge money value. The best student will get a 1 lakh rupees prize. The second prize is 60,000, and third prize is cash prize of 40,000. Not only that, there are other sector specific prizes. So there are prizes for robotics, there are prizes for finance, there are prizes for entertainment, gaming, social, space technology, and various other things. Now each of these prizes are award certificate plus mentoring support plus a cash component to it, right? So all those prizes are there. uh, then there are other prizes. All the top 10 ideas, they will get incubation and mentoring support from our from ThinkStartup that I run. along with my co-founder, and they will also get incubation support from all the ecosystem partners. So we have now tied up with multiple Atal incubation centers. These are far more better versions of Atal tinkering labs where you can get incubation support. IIT Roorkee, I am Vishakhapatnam, and multiple other collaborators who are part of this. We top 100 gets again mentoring support. Top 500 gets access to young ideator program, and those are the kind of ecosystem that we are building. So Sukanya, you can visit the link www.youthideathon.in, and we really want you to be going there. Now, for the schools, all the schools which can submit more than 500 ideas. So we already have got five schools by now who have submitted more than 500 ideas, and they get innovation trophy from the school. From us. Then we have also something very interesting, and I really want to talk about this. CENTA, they have announced faculty awards. Now, this is very interesting. CENTA has announced faculty awards, and this is for teachers. So in the idea submission form, students have an option to submit the email ID of the mentor. So if you are helping your student and students have put in your email ID, and if your student comes into top 100, you get 50% off on all the CENTA courses. So all teachers, if you support your students and they come into top 100, you get 50% off on all the CENTA courses. Not only that, you also get a chance to conduct masterclass workshop on the topic that we can mutually decide and work together with. But we really want to work with all teachers. So teachers, this is, uh, I would say, a time when we can collaborate and create a new ecosystem of learning, a new education system of learning. And we really want all of us to be tightly working together, because when we create an ecosystem where innovation thrives, only then India wins, only then the world moves forward. So this is it. Uh, there are some key details which is there, which you can find everywhere. Go to the website youthideathon.in. The idea box closes on 20th October. So in the fitness of things with time and all that, we would really urge you to encourage your students to participate in Youth Ideathon, and we will work together, we'll win together. In the final stages, we have got some of the most amazing people who can actually come and nurture students, school students, right? And believe me not, we have professors from Harvard University, professors from Cambridge University, professor from Cranfield University, professor from INSEAD, all those people, professor from Darden, University of Virginia, uh, Stanford, they are going to be there together to be helping and mentoring your students, right? So this is the stuff which is going to happen. They will also get mentored by unicorn founders. When I say unicorn founders, these are all billion-dollar valued enterprises. They are going to be working with these students, and all the mentor teachers, they are going to be there. So the kind of learning that we are trying to build in the next few days is something most amazing learning ecosystem that we want to build. So teachers, are you all in this together? If you're all in this together, I'm looking at an answer which is yes in the chat box, such that we know that the partnership is deeper, and we really want to succeed together. With this, I'm open to any questions, and I pass over the baton to moderator, and if there are any questions, happy to answer. So Karthik, over to you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sanjeeva, for a fantastic session. So there's a question from Ms. Aruna Naik, and Aruna ma'am is asking, "Good evening, sir. Can college-going students also submit their ideas?" That's a question.
Aruna ma'am, unfortunately, no. We will come up with the college fest after 4 months, February, not in this one.
Uh,
Right. This is only for
Lots of
schools.
thank you messages, lots of yeah.
I think
So there's a question
Raina
from
Singh
Ms.
has,
Raina Singh, and Raina ma'am is asking, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So she's asking, would
So,
you just want to know about the idea, or should we be submitting the complete plan?
right. So, Raina ma'am, fantastic question. I'll tell you what. Uh, when student registers on the first page, there are only 4 questions, which is the biodata kind of question. Then they go to the idea submission form, and in that idea submission form, there are 4 questions, and they need to answer 4 questions. So it's something which is far more than idea, right? So the first question is describe the idea in brief. Then there are following 3 questions, and if you start looking at those 3 questions, they are far deeper questions, and all those 4 questions together will help us, screen uh, an idea, right? And as we move forward, at step 1, we are not interested in the big plan. We are not interested in plan at all, right? We are interested in building stuff out of these ideas, right? So planning is one, but in the final 6 days of with the 100 students who will participate in the uh, uh, the first list that we are going to prepare is of 500 students, and they will go through a video interview, and through those video interview then we prepare the final list of 100, and we really want to take them into a product development exercise. So that's the work that's going to happen.
There was a question from Mr. Manish Tiwari, and who was checking for the grades, uh, which the students from which grades are eligible to take part in this.
Grade 6 to grade 12, although we have worked with younger students, but we find that grade 6 students are braver than grade 12 students, and this is very interesting to all the teachers, right? And that's something that you need to be asking: why are students in grade 6, 7th, and 8th more fearless than students of class 11th and 12th?
It's a question from Mr. Shiva Mehrotra, who's checking if it's open for pre-primary section as well. I'm not sure.
Professor Shiva, we do workshops with younger audience, right? We run ideation workshop, we run ideation program with younger audience, but in the fitness of things, otherwise comparison becomes far more difficult. That's why 6 to 12.
And we have a lot of teachers who are participating from the Philippines and Nigeria, and we have a teacher from Philippines who's checking if students from outside of India can participate as well. I guess the responses answer to that would be no.
The hard answer is no. Happy they can participate. We can give you feedback, certainly. And there's a story why we are doing this from 6 to 12. Last 18 to 20 months, we have been running uh, entrepreneurship programs for school students, right? More than about 1,500 students have participated. And we looked at different age group profiles and all that, and we realized that between 6 to 12, there's a homogeneity. The difference is far less, and you can block them together in terms of pure idea and execution sort of stuff, right? Below that, the messaging becomes a little tricky. But we learn from this, all the teachers. I'm taking all the feedback to saying, maybe next year we create 2 categories, right? We create 2 categories, one for the younger student and other for you know the higher grades.
Tejal ma'am will also be sending out an email with the details. So in case you've missed the link, that's completely all right. We'll share the link and the details in an email with you, and you could pass it
In
on to your
fact,
students.
I'm seeing a lovely question. Can a separate entrepreneurship motivation be added in school curriculum? Ambuj, a great question, Ambuj Satpati. I really think, right now, it is for the entire ecosystem. When I say ecosystem, the regulators, the curriculum designers to really think and build that. So I'm very hopeful, right? What is NEP? NEP is saying that we need to 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 encourage creativity in classrooms, right? Now, if we actually do a genuine job out there to encourage creativity in classrooms, I think entrepreneurial motivation will be addressed. So I'm really keen, and our team is actually observing at what's going on. We would be very actively participating, and we'll be very happy to work with all the teachers to sort of create those nice stuff, right? Great learning environment, 21st century skills, and we, it's a responsibility, right? So when I look at what's going on in uh, forget Israel. Israel is a technology rich. They are ahead in the technology curve, right? The Nobel Prize winner in Israel says that the only job, the only purpose of education is to create business. This is most amazing. You can go and research, right? So Dan Shidman, he got Nobel Prize for chemistry, and he says that the only purpose of education is to create business. The resources in the world are finite; they are not going to last forever. And only when you build this entrepreneurial and creativity mindset, then human beings are able to then harness those resources through their creativity and take the world forward. Now, that mindset we need to start early. Now, Israel is focusing on entrepreneurship mindset. You know what? In Rwanda, this starts at grade 2. In Rwanda, it starts at grade 2, right? So I think we really need to be looking at entrepreneurship with a completely fresh pair of eyes as educators, and introduce as soon as possible.
Pushpa ma'am, this is for students from grade 6 to grade 12. So uh, a couple of others also have the same question. So this is for students from grade 6 to grade 12. So it's a question from Kojovi Asino.
Wow.
And the question is, can we teachers be bold sometimes to discourage students to take some risks if we don't see them recover from that?
Of course, right? So, great question, uh, Kojevi, right? Kojovi. Listen, I think we have a responsibility as teachers, and we really need to balance those both sides of the responsibility. On one side, it's about risk taking. The other side is, if the person is not able to take the fall, then we are also the support, right? And I'm a believer that we have to be the support, right? We incubate a lot of startups here. People fail invariably, but you know that this person can only take this much. If a person can only fall, let us say, 3 feet, there's no point making him jump from 5. So we have to be adaptive.
Uh, Lots of thank you messages. I think we've answered uh, most of the questions. Uh, thank you so much, Iroma Sharani ma'am. Thank you so much, Rajni ma'am. Thank you so much, Rajni ma'am. Thank you so much, Melissa ma'am. I think we've answered most of the questions. So thank you once again, Sanjeeva. Thank you so much for a fantastic session. I'm sure we'll have lots of interests coming in, and lot of teachers are going to go back and encourage their students to participate. And to the teachers, yes, we will be sharing this link, the link and the other details in an email with you tomorrow. So the email that you get with your record of participation, that will carry the details as well, and you could pass it on to your students. So we will
There's a
definitely be.
lovely point that Snehal has put, and sorry,
Yeah,
Karthik, I just barged in.
yeah.
Right, I really like, we need to involve entrepreneurs in school to promote it. Snehal, ma'am, at any point of time you want to reach out to us, very happy. We can help set up everything. So that's the kind of thing that we are doing with few schools, but happy to take it anytime.
There's a question from Miss
Wow.
Preeti Gupta.
Okay, Preeti Gupta, listen, this is lovely because uh, we are running an experiment at the moment. As I'm speaking with you, my colleagues are running Ideathon in a block, in a village block in West Sirbhum district of Jharkhand, which is the outskirts of Jamshedpur. It's a block, and we are working with rural students at this stage, and we are working with the bold ideas and all those sort of stuff. So I think, you know this education can be taken anywhere, because this is real life. Entrepreneurship is real life. We really need to think about this in different manner and have the right toolkits to take it anywhere in the world, any audience.
Um, Rohi Life is checking. Do we have some email where we can write our questions in the future? I think Sanjeev had shared his email address earlier, and Sanjeev, if you
It's
don't
there on
mind,
the
we could
first
pass.
slide. If we,
It's
yeah,
there on the first slide, and we'll pass this on to our teachers so that they could write to you. Uh, Mr. Abraham, no, we don't have a team in Ghana, but we have lots of teachers
not yet.
from Ghana.
We'll work with you.
So,
We'll work with you. We'll work with CENTA for to set up the team, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
Uh, Thank you, thank you. Great. I think we'll call it a day. Thank you so much, Sanjeeva. Thank you so much once again. And thank you to all the teachers who joined us live on a Monday evening. Usually our sessions happen almost always on a Thursday. So the teacher community is used to that. But lots of you joined us live on a Monday evening. Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing all of you on Thursday because we have another special session lined up for you on stress management strategies which teachers could help their students with. So it's going to be another interesting session and facilitated by my center community member. So registrations, as always, are open on my center. So please go ahead and register yourself and do share the link with your friends and colleagues as well. I'm sure you'll find the session useful. And yeah, please do share the link with your students as well. They're most welcome to join in. Uh, Thank you so much. Thank you so much once again, Sanjeeva. Thank you to all, and I hope to see all of you once again on Thursday. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Love the participation. Thanks. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.